My name is Felipe Delgado, and today this video will develop the application of the triad approach based on the book The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood by Howard Pyle. I'm going to start this video talking about the contextual framework. Then I will develop the semantic framework, and finally we will talk about the linguistic framework. Howard Pyle was born on March 5, 1853 in Wilmington, Delaware. After studying art, he moved to New York City to work as a magazine illustrator. Returning to Wilmington in 1880, Pyle took other aspects of book design. Then he started to create and illustrate works like The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood. Pyle later taught illustration and founded a Brian Wine School of Art. Some of his early works were illustration and stories for magazines and other periodicals. Then he moved to New York City in 1876 and struggled to make ends meet until he sold an illustrated article to Harper's Weekly. After returning Wilmington in 1880, he began working on some of his most memorable books. One such project, The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood, 1883, proved especially popular. Nearly every inch of the book was created by Pyle. The stories, the illustrations, and even the type of lettering used when he went on to illustrate dozens of the works. For instance, he got other works like Men of Iron in 1892, Otto of the Silver Hand, which is about the life of the son of a robber baron during the medieval period, The Reject of Men, a story of 2 days. It was in 1903, setting the story of Jesus as if had occurred during early 20th century. Howard Pyle died on November 9, 1911 in Florence, Italy. He was married to Anne Powell, and the couple had 7 children together. Now let's talk about the contextual framework. The Adventures of Robin Hood was written in 1883. This novel consists in a series of adventures of episodes in the story of the English outlaw Robin Hood and his band of merry bandits. The novel compiles the traditional material into a coherent narrative in a colorful invented. Besides, the genre is children's literature, because Howard Pyle modified the ballads he gathered in order to create a book, a book for children readers. Besides, the subgenre is historical fiction, because it's a book according to the facts happened in the story while the book was written, and it's supposed that it was written. The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood is a book which was written in 1883 by Howard Pyle. The book talked about the adventures of Robin, an outlawed man, and his band of merry men. It consisted in some episodes collected by Howard Pyle, and it has a current narrative in a colorful, invented Old English idiom that preserves the flavor of the ballads, and it was adapted for children. The genre is children's literature, and the subgenre is historical fiction. The movement of the book is the Great American Novel. Howard Pyle took material from old ballads and wove them into a cohesive story. Let's talk about the social context. On May 24th, a Brooklyn Bridge was opened to traffic after 13 years of construction. In January 19, the first electric lighting system employing overhead wires built by Thomas Edison began service at Roswell, New Jersey. On May 14th, the first telephone call between New York and Chicago was done. According to the political framework, it was organized the American Anti-Vivisection Society on February 23rd. On October 15, the Supreme Court of the United States declared part of the Civil Rights Act of 1875 to be unconstitutional since the court allows private individuals and corporations to discriminate based on race. According to literature, in the 18th and the early 19th centuries, American art and literature took most of its cues from Europe. Writers such as Nathaniel Hawthorne, Edgar Allan Poe, and Henry David Thoreau established a distinctive American literary voice by the middle of the 19th century. Now let's talk about the semantic framework. According to the book, Robin's love for disguise also shines forth in the adventures involving. He was in an archery competition, and his impersonification of a butcher, where he sits dance with his arch enemy, the sheriff of Nottingham. He also finds the time to prevent a forced marriage and get the bridge married with her love, the sensitive Alan Adele. It's supposed that not all adventure involve Robin. However, Little John has many of his own, including the living a temporary life of luxury under the assumed name of Raymond Grimleaf. In the service of the sheriff, this is soon followed by his first death at the exhortation of the sheriffs. The book ends on a happy end with the King Richard Lionheart making an appearance in Nottingham, intrigued by stories about Robin Hood. So he expressed his interest in order to meet him. As expected, he is intercepted by Robin Hood while he was going to Nottingham, and Robin Hood tried to rob his money, and then he treats him to a feast and show Robin expresses his loyalty to monarch and the king, who has been impressed by the outlaws' behavior and rebels himself and grants them loyal pardon. Let's talk about the linguistic framework. We have some figures of the speech in this book, like archaism, because this book is written in all English. That's why we can find words like thee, that means you. We can find words like ear, that is a contraction of ever, have, that is like H-A-T-H, that means half, dove, that is do, we have thee, that means them, and thou, that means you. Besides, on page 75, we can find aphorisms in the sentence that said, how dost thou like them? Are they not fat and fair to see? This is in the first paragraph in the line number 7 on page 75. We can find too anaphora in the page 91. It said, I say go through, bring it to me. I say go through, fetch it to yourself. Another figure of the speech we can find in this book is on page 24. We can find asterismus. Asterismus is when they started with exclamation. For instance, I, that be a brave, said the thinker. I, Mary, said the messenger. Besides, we can find the superlative sentence as a figure of the speech on page 16, which say, then he shows the stoutest bow among them all, next to the robin's own and the stray grey goose shaft. And the topic is in the books are loyalty, are the poorness, and besides how a child can survive in a society given in that period when the king Richard Lionheart has his kingdom. And besides we can tell that this book has all the flavor of the old English. It means that the words are gonna be difficult to understand if you don't have a good dictionary of old English. Who is the American citizen according to Howard Pyle? I think that Howard Pyle tried to show with Robin Hood that the ideal American citizen is a person who has values and virtues against the power, because it was against the people who had more money than the others and tried to make equality in the society. That's why I think Robin Hood, ideal American citizen for Howard Pyle. He wanted people to be equal, and he wanted a person who was able not to use the power to be more than the others or to have more things than the other, but to use the power to try to use to give the others the opportunity to have what the other people have. In conclusion, I think this book is really good. As I mentioned before, the old English it was written is a little bit difficult, but some of its part are clear. This is a funny book. While you're reading, you can enjoy a lot. Uh, I heartily recommend it because you can find many things about Robin Hood and you can enjoy it as well. Thank you very much.